Hello. Good morning. How you doing? Oh, doing good. I'm not. I'm in Detroit. Yeah, no, I'm in Detroit. I got my hair done yesterday before I left. I'll be back on Tuesday. Okay, well, call me when you get back. Okay, it's going good. Going good. Everybody's doing all right. Hanging in there. I know you do. I know a whole bunch. Okay, that sounds like a plan. Okay, you two go ahead. Where is the link? I cannot find it. Hey, good morning. How you doing? Good. Sorry to call you so early. What day did you send out the link for today's meeting? What day did you send out the link for today's meeting? Wednesday. Okay, I'm just Wednesday. Okay, I'm looking for it. I knew that you sent it. I saw it, but you sent a lot of emails, so I'm just trying to locate it so I can get it ready for our meeting today. Okay, I'll. Uh-huh. Oh, okay, so it's an email. It also includes the agenda, so it's an attachment. Our meeting is gonna be light today. Yeah. Oh yeah, because it's gonna be like Timothy ain't gonna be on. Betty, I know Timothy's not gonna be on, and I know that Marguerite ain't gonna be on. They're traveling. Gotcha. Okay. Okay, so it's oh here it is. I see it. I found it. Yeah, actually you sent it on, I think this is Tuesday. Let me open it up. Yeah, I think so. Come on, open up, stupid. Okay, so also, I guess in new business, I'll show the video for the cluster so y'all can see how it came out. We got it done. That's okay. We'll make it a surprise.
Good morning.
Good morning, Casina.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm fine.
Good, good, good.
It says I can't turn my camera on.
Hold on one second. Let me open this up. Let's see.
Which is fine. I was gonna say, are we not having our cameras on today?
No, we are. You can. It's really interesting. Zoom has a glitch in their system. You're set up to be a panelist, but it doesn't let you turn on your camera unless I make you a co-host. So now I've made you a co-host, so now you can turn your camera off.
Okay. I just need to see what I look like, what my lighting looked like over here.
Okay. Well, you ready now? There you go.
Okay. I gotta get situated. You gotta make sure that you look right on camera.
I understand. I understand.
You been doing okay?
I've been doing great. Cannot complain, you know?
Right. There's not even a reason to complain these
That's
days.
right. It is not. Hi, Brittany. This is Rhonda. If you can hear me, can you make sure your camera's working?
How are you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning. Hold on a second. Okay. Hold on a second. Oh no, wait a minute. Good morning. Uh, okay, ladies, we are in webinar mode and no one should be able to hear us because I have not started the Zoom. However, we're waiting on Denisha and the other two panelists. As soon as they join, we will, as soon as they join, then we will start and I'll give you guys the okay. Okay.
Yes, got it. Thank you.
And did you all did receive the special link for this, correct? Okay, great.
So Rhonda, when I was in as a regular registrant, I was able to hear you, just for the record.
Good morning and welcome to the 100 Black Men Mental Health Workshop. Today, our host is Miss Denisha Mingo. Denisha, take it away.
Good morning. I am not able to start my video. It says the host has stopped it.
Go right ahead.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I am Danisha Mingo, the owner of Mingo Health Solutions, also known as MHS Behavioral Services, where we do counseling and therapy for children, adults, and training and a ton of other things. One of the things that's really important for us at MHS is to provide awareness to the important topic of mental illness as well as mental health. And I am delighted today to be joined by some amazing, powerful clinicians and social workers and people who work with you all in our community so that we can have a discussion around various topics today, as well as provide resources and support. I do want to share with you all that today's topic, being that we are here only for an hour, is going to be more informational. We will have a Q&A at the end to answer your questions. If anyone has ever joined any type of webinar or speaking experience that I've facilitated, I typically try to make that space very therapeutic. But it's also important to us as mental health professionals to ensure that we're not opening situations or wounds or difficult topics where we're not able to close you back up. So you'll find today a little bit more informational than therapeutic, but then you have amazing resources here to follow up so that you can have the therapeutic experience, healing, support that you may need. So I am going to do some introductions of our panelists. You see over here, Casina Boone, and Casina Douglas Boone is a dedicated mother of 6. She's a wife, a former legislator, community advocate who's focused on family and civic engagement by strategizing and developing programs to bridge the gap between home, school, life, and the community for adolescents. She's also a dedicated member of Zeta Phi Beta sorority. In 2011, Casina launched Tulips, which is a nonprofit organization that is teaching, uniting ladies to inspire positive success. She assists young ladies in crucial social skills, such as how to dress, speak, and behave. Tulips is a mentoring organization that also empowers young ladies to take control of their future and be an example to others. For the past 22 years, she has been employed with the Clark County School District, working in several support staff positions, and she transitioned into the classroom in 2013 because she has a passion for supporting and being the voice for our youth. In 2016, Casina switched her career field to social work mental health specialist, continuing her work in helping the students at Peterson Academic Center, where her passion for changes fuels the outcome for students and their families by eliminating barriers to success at all costs. Welcome this morning, Ms. Casina Douglas Boone.
Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to sharing this space with these amazing panelists this morning.
I'm thankful that you are here. I've really wanted you because today's topic is about mental health for teens and adults. And I know that you do extensive work with teens. I've worked with you in the past, and I was just excited for your contribution here today. So thanks again. Our next panelist is Brittany Collins Jefferson, who is a licensed clinical social worker and licensed clinical alcohol and drug counselor intern. Ms. Collins Jefferson is the owner and founder of Restorative Health and Life, which is a counseling company in Las Vegas. She is also the chief operating officer of Mingo Health Solutions in Colorado, as we have a Colorado branch. She's the co-author of a book, Character is Beauty, that you can purchase on Amazon right now. And she's an acting member of the worldwide ministry Healing for My Heels. Brittany recently filmed with the reality TV show Doubling Down with the Derricos as a mental health clinician, and she has a Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology, a master's in social work from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and she's also been recognized by the Black Student Organization at UNLV for maintaining an honorable GPA in both her bachelor's and master's degree programs. She has over a decade of experience working in the social service and human service development field and has worked in a variety of public and private settings, including foster care, social service, hospital, and of course, her private practice. She currently works with clients that present with family issues, mental health concerns, substance use concerns, and behavioral concerns. She's also a supervisor for master's students who are looking to become counseling interns at a few of the local behavioral health agencies. Brittany takes pride in her work as a clinician, is always looking to assist clients with restoring their lives to become the best version of who they are. Her motto goes, let's get healed, holy, the restorative way. Good morning, Brittany.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to this today.
I am excited to have you. You are a definite powerhouse in this city. Pretty low key in some regards, but as we could tell from your biography, you are powerful. And I believe that, again, your extensive experience working with youth and or adults, and particularly substance use, is going to be a great contribution to today's conversation. So I'm excited. Now, our third panelist is the Sharita Childress, who is a psychotherapist and licensed clinical social worker. Her past experience as a clinical director volunteered to a national foster care program, and she's currently the owner of a private practice business called Family First Counseling. Sharita was recently selected the advocate for mental health awareness for the National Professional Basketball Association for national and international athletes. She provides clinical and collegiate supervision to social work interns and has founded a number of mental health awareness events across the country. She's a native to Las Vegas, como yo, and a graduate from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, where she earned her bachelor's and master's both in social work. She comes from a big family, being the oldest of 8. She's a faithful servant and is very active within her church ministry. Sharita also loves to sing and dance and is a certified Zumba fitness instructor. She's also a writer. And she strives to make a difference in helping others work through life challenges by providing her services, resources, tools, and testimony of victory. She wants to see people increase their ability to live mentally healthier, fulfilled, and more satisfying lives. Common concerns that people come to Sharita's counseling couch for are family and relational issues, children, teens with self-esteem, bullying, peer pressure, behavioral, life stages and changes, grief and loss support, stress management, abuse, substance, emotional, physical, as well as verbal, and trauma, inclusive of abuse and domestic violence. Good morning, Sharita. You are on mute, but you look beautiful.
Oh, wow. Sorry about that. Good morning. Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. I felt like I was on the Grammys.
It's always like, that's the work that you've done. And I know that's just a snippet.
Wow. Like the way you said that, read that bio, I thought, wow, she is like an awesome narrator. But,
well, listen, we're happy to have you here today. And if anybody is interested in continuing to learn more, we've already done something yesterday that Sharita hosted, so you can go find that on her Facebook page. We went live talking about some mental health topics. So her bio told it all, why she's here. And I think it's important to share this so you guys understand that we have qualified people, relatable people who have hearts and care, but they're qualified to discuss the issues that we're talking about today, but more importantly, to assist you if you want to reach out for yourself or a loved one after. So I'm excited. We got one more who is last and definitely not least. And I want to make sure we share his bio so we can get into these questions and topics. So our final panelist with us today is Dr. Sheldon Jacobs, who is a psychologist. He has his PsyD as well as his license in marriage and family therapy. He obtained a bachelor's degree from Ohio State University, where he studied communications, and earned his master's and doctor's degrees in marriage and family therapy from Alliant International University. Dr. Jacobs has been providing individual, couples, and family therapy to individuals from various walks of life for the past 15 years. He's worked inpatient, outpatient, private practice settings, and he opened his own part-time practice, Dr. Sheldon A. Jacobs Counseling Services, in September of 2020. He's also worked as a clinician within the juvenile justice and child welfare systems for Clark County, a combined 11 years in counting, and he's taught various courses about around psychology at various universities as an adjunct and core faculty member. Dr. Jacobs is an approved state of Nevada secondary clinical supervisor as well, and he is a team clinician for the Las Vegas Raiders, where he provides counseling to players, coaches, staff, as well as conducts NFL mandated trainings for the team. Dr. Jacobs is a mental health media consultant for Las Vegas Fox 5, Las Vegas Channel 13 News, Power 88 Las Vegas, and the Las Vegas Review Journal. He was appointed by Governor Sisolak in 2019 to serve on the state of Nevada Board of Examiners for both MFTs and CPCs as marriage and family therapists and clinical professional counselors. And he's the vice president of NAMI Southern Nevada. Dr. Jacobs chairs a committee that he created that is comprised of mental health professionals that addresses the shortage of minority mental health providers in Nevada. Thank you. And when he's not practicing, he's usually giving back to his community by offering town hall discussions such as today, centered on mental health at schools, community centers, churches. Because of Dr. Jacobs' work in the community, he's received several awards and recognition, including special congressional honor by Congresswoman Jackie Rosen in May 2019. And lastly, he's published several professional journal articles and recently released his highly anticipated memoir in November 2020 titled 48, an experiential memoir on homelessness, where he went undercover as a homeless man for 48 hours in downtown Las Vegas to raise awareness for homelessness and mental health. Dr. Jacobs is passionate about a lot of his social issues, but he's most passionate about inspiring others through his experience of adversity and how he was able to experience triumph in the end. Welcome, 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 Dr. Jacobs.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on this esteemed panel with my colleagues. And yeah, let's get the conversation started.
Let's get it started, y'all. That was, yeah, we are all very experienced people. I think it's important, like I said, to get us qualified, but there are some topics that we are going to talk about today, and I want to get to those questions. For anyone out there who's watching who does not know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so especially during this month, but definitely all year long, this is the work we do. But especially during this month, we want to make sure that we're continuing to raise awareness so that we can access support when we need. So I'm going to go and get some questions asked because I've been talking a lot. So you guys, we're looking at the time. We got about 35 minutes to get to it. So just be mindful with our responses. I want to allow you guys to flow in your expertise, but try to keep some things short so we can get through some questions, and then we'll allow some organic dialogue and then look for some questions at the last 10 to 15 minutes from all of our participants. I want to start with Ms. Casina Boone, because today's topic is for teens and adults. And we see a major increase in mental illnesses amongst our teens, but you work with them directly. And so just tell us, what are some trends that you're seeing in regard to mental health issues for that teen population?
Thank you for that. Once again, thank you for having me. As a safe school professional, some of the things that we are seeing, students are feeling isolated, disengaged, disconnected, lack of motivation. A lot of the students are feeling helpless, feeling that, this pandemic not only, put them in a box where they couldn't go anywhere, but it also put them in a box where if it was a home where there was already trauma, they had to stay in that environment. And so not having anyone to connect with or talk to definitely seemed to be a challenge for our young people.
And so You definitely went into what some of the symptoms can look like for various diagnoses, but as the schools have opened back up for this last year, like what kind of response did you see from our teens? And knowing that we only had this month, what are you as a social worker and or CCSD expecting for this summer to look like for our teenagers?
So as a safe school professional, I am not a social worker, but as a safe school professional, we work closely with our multidisciplinary team, and we try to make sure that we are providing life-saving support and with social, emotional, and mental health needs for our students.
Wonderful. Thank you. So you went into some of the things that teens are feeling. I want to ask you, Sharita, what are some of the most common diagnoses that we may see our adolescent population diagnosed with?
Yes, thank you so much for this question. That's a very good question. So right now, particularly, during this time of pandemic related stress, what I'm seeing a lot in the therapy rooms are, adjustment disorder, because everybody's been traumatized by this whole experience and the enormity of this pandemic, right? And so a lot of the children are coming with adjustment disorders, complex grief and loss, because, the loss of, probably family members because they passed away, the loss of their social connection abruptly because they had to go to school virtually versus in person, right? And so developmentally, that's a very intricate part of, a teen's life, a child's life, is that social connection. And when we went to this all virtual world, it really did, cause some grief and loss in those spaces. So grief and loss in those areas, grief and loss of, just being able to connect. We're also seeing like some depression. We're seeing a lot of anxiety disorders that have possibly already been there, but were exacerbated due to, pandemic related stress and, a host of other things that are going on in their lives simultaneously. So those are just, about 4 of them, just to name a few that are prominent that I'm seeing on a regular basis right now.
And I think that we have had a lot of discussion around anxiety, depression, and even trauma, right? And I think, and can definitely, in the Q&A, if there's anyone who wants more information on those, but I think they're commonly known. What is adjustment disorder?
Okay, so adjustment disorder, it's basically commonly diagnosed for a situational trauma, brief trauma situation. So say, for instance, if a child all of a sudden had to relocate and, they were removed from their social connections, all their peer groups, and it was out of their, I'll just give a hypothetical situation. A lot of people lost their jobs, right? We know this. And with, occupational loss, sometimes it takes that we have to relocate back to our home of origin. And so that happened a lot with a lot of families in Nevada in the pandemic, because as we know, historically, the Strip hadn't been closed down since the 50s or something like that, right? 50s or 60s that I'm aware of. And so thousands and thousands of people lost their jobs, hence affecting the households. And a lot of people had to go back to their home of origin and move in with family to survive, after, their job loss through the pandemic. And so it affected a lot of the children. And so immediately you had kids who grew up, born and raised on the West Coast, having to relocate to places and connect with people that they don't even really know, their paternal and paternal families that, maybe they only did a visit with on the summers, or maybe even never had any connection to them. So that's what that would classify like an adjustment situation, an abrupt adjustment, right?
So, okay, so when a person has adjustment disorder, and I'm hearing you say it's situational and typically abrupt, getting that type of diagnosis, whether they go to a clinician or not, but these symptoms may show up right in their life, is that type of situation, obviously it's common, but should a person feel more optimistic, I guess, or have a more hope, for lack of better words, about how their situation or their symptoms are showing up with it being an adjustment disorder versus, major depressive or generalized anxiety or some other, like?
I would encourage people to look at mental health just like they look at physical health, right? And so there are severities, there are levels, but I think the prominent thought to have is that you know, you need healing and support in any one of those situations. So physically, if you have a cold, you still need to treat it. If you have pneumonia, you still need to treat it. Same with mental health, right? If you have adjustment disorder, you still need to treat it, versus if you have, you know, major depressive disorder, you still need to treat it. So I think the focal point is just on that treatment and therapeutic support. And yes, I don't know whether a person would, you know, feel more optimistic or not. I think that just through the treatment and correct support and consistent support therapeutically, then the optimism will be there, you know, eventually, once they see, you know, that they're progressing in their treatment plans.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Dr. Jacobs, since I know that you do a lot of work in the legislation and in the community, I want to ask you, do we see any particular trends for our minority youth differently than others? And or we could talk about with 100 Black men for our Black youth. Are there different trends in regard to mental illnesses for them?
Yeah, so I would say, and you know, I kind of, you know, obviously, you know, I think we have to be careful in terms of how we use the term mental illness, you know, because I think, you know, there's a spectrum when it comes to, you know, mental health related, you know, issues or circumstances, right? And so in regards to our, you know, our Black youth, especially, one of the things that we've been seeing, this is prior to the pandemic, and that is suicide rates have increased. Actually, our for Black youth in particular, suicide rates have increased more than any other you know, ethnic group over the last couple of years, and so that's very troubling. And then obviously, you know, with the suicide rate here in Las Vegas, a lot of people don't realize this, but more than half of those youth that took their lives since the pandemic started were kids of color. So obviously it's really impacting us on many different levels. But we're starting to see, you know, our youth that are experiencing more suicidal ideation, you know, more attempts, and then obviously, you know, those following through with, you know, taking their lives. And so there's a lot of work that needs to be done in that area. And the research is you know, research varies in terms of why that is, why, you know, our youth are, you know, experiencing more suicidal ideation, and the suicidality in general is increased, you know, substantially. There's a lot of mixing, the research is mixed on that in terms of why. Some of the things that we're starting to find out is the cultural disconnect. You know, obviously culturally, and everybody on this panel and the folks that are listening are probably aware of this, that culturally, you know, we've always, you know, we always haven't been open to seeking outside help, no matter what the issue is. It's going to the doctor for medical appointments, or of course, you know, on the mental health side of things as well, or going to the dentist even, right? You know, we're usually the last ones to seek help, right? And so there's a lot of those cultural barriers as well that I think that, you know, makes it harder for people to willingly, you know, seek help when in need. The other piece to that that we see a lot of times is there is this mistrust. There's this mistrust of various systems, various the medical professionals, mental health professionals, and so one of the things that we're trying to change and try to focus on is, you know, is having you know, more of our people, you know, not only educated about mental health, but also be providers. So I'm trying to get more providers, trying to recruit more folks of color, you know, into the field, because, you know, I do believe in the laws of attraction, right? That if you're sitting across the room with somebody that looks like you, you know, you're more likely to reach out to that person versus somebody who does not, right? So there's a lot going on in that end. In terms of the legislature, like I'm excited because there's several bills that are you know, in the process, hopefully, of getting passed. And so one of those bills is AB 327, which will require all mental health professionals to have, I think it's at least 2 hours of training and cultural diversity, and that can look in many different ways, but having at least 2 hours, you know, required towards licensure in order for them to, you know, to keep up with, you know, their competency culturally. So that's a big one. And then there's a couple other bills I want to say really quickly. And so, and there are bills that I'm really excited about as well as SB 249. SB 249 will require schools to include local and national suicide hotlines on the back of each student's ID card. Okay, and then
What's
also
that second one, SB 249?
Yeah, SB 249. Yeah, SB 249 requires schools, so require each student on the back of their ID cards to have a local number for if they're in crisis, under an actual card, as well as a national suicide crisis line on there as well. And in addition to that, to SB 249, another piece to it is having mental health days. So giving schools, creating policy within the schools where if a youth is, experiencing, maybe a crisis or just, experiencing maybe some mental health distress, that they'll be able to take that day off from school, without it counting towards, an absence. It'll be kind of like a free day, if you will, or what they call a mental health day. So that's gaining a lot of traction in the Senate. And then the other one, SB 390, is, and this is going to come down the pipe anyway, just hopefully it passes through this legislature session. And that is, legislative session, so SB 390 is to create the 988 crisis hotline. So 24/7 hotline where folks can call when in distress.
Is that a local, that's a Nevada local hotline versus the national one, right?
Correct. And so there's some federal legislation that's being pushed on that, but then also locally, we're going to incorporate it, in Nevada, so that if anybody has a crisis or is in distress, they can call this number, and there'll be a mental health professional, on the other line. And then, okay.
Oh, do you have one more?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
The last one is SB 230, which will require all school employees to have training related to trauma and behavioral health conditions.
I'm glad that you shared those bills, because I think that as a people, if we're familiar with Maslow's hierarchy needs, right, we're focused on the things that are before us, right? Getting the challenges, our food, our clothing, managing lives, going to work, right? And sometimes we just don't have the capacity or the mind to see how everything else impacts us. So someone may come out for this mental health workshop because now that's what's present in our life and we're interested in it, but not realizing how it's important that we be involved with everything else, so that some of these barriers can be moved away and we don't have to be, just only focused on the day-to-day. So if you can quickly tell people out there listening, how can they get involved in supporting these bills and ensuring that they get pushed through? And that process would be the same for like anything else they want to see done in their community, which ultimately impacts their everyday life.
The biggest thing is, and thank you for that. I would say just, the biggest thing is, reaching out to your legislatures within your districts, or you can check another easy one is going to the NELIS website and checking, the different bills that are in the portal, and see, if there's some that sort of, kind of fit an agenda or a passion of yours. You can get the information regarding those bills when they're up, before the Senate or the Assembly. You can also check to see, when is the time to testify? Because one of the things that we see a lot of times is when a bill is up for, is being heard, sometimes we don't have, enough voices, to testify on behalf of that bill, or to oppose it, right? Because sometimes there's, just because it's a bill that's being in front of the legislature, it doesn't mean that it's a good one as well, right? So I think it's kind of also just educating ourselves and having that awareness. But definitely, your elected officials, from your districts, should have relationships with their offices. Reach out to them, because a lot of times they want to hear your voice. That's the reason why they are in office, right? Is to support us.
Yeah, and if somebody wants to learn more about how like policy impacts your community and your life, you can reach out to Dr. Jacobs. Reach out to me. I know Casina, of course, she's a former Assemblywoman. Sharita, we're involved. So sometimes we just don't know how to access or what's there. And that's the reason why we're having this talk today. But reach out and we can, help you go to that website, help you find who your local person is, so that we become involved. Because as you guys are hearing, it impacts your children's school, which is going to impact your life, which will impact theirs. And then there's so much more in regard to funding and the workforce that we need to address. So thank you for that, Dr. Sheldon. Brittany Collins Jefferson, you've been so patient. I
No
want to
problem.
ask you, being a licensed drug and alcohol counselor or alcohol and drug counselor, how often are you seeing substance use impact our youth population?
Oh, I'm seeing it quite a bit. And I would say at least with 50% of our youth or so. Just because, especially in today's climate, I think as Sharita mentioned, we have COVID, right? And people are trying to transition. Children aren't having, or children in our youth, right? They're not having the typical outlets that they normally have, to be engaged in sports or be engaged in school events. And so they're starting to sit at home, bored, and they're more willing to try things that they might not have tried if they had more positive coping outlets. So I'm starting to see at least 50% or even more of our youth are more willing to experiment with different type of drugs, whether it's marijuana, uh, methamphetamine. We're also seeing opioids quite a bit. We're also seeing even cigarettes, alcohol, having access from their parents, things of that nature. So it's quite a bit of youth that are being affected by some type of substance use.
What are some warning signs that, a person, first I want to ask, this will be a two-part question, but what are some warning signs that a person's child may be experimenting and or, getting more addictive versus using recreationally substances?
Yes, so there's actually quite a few warning signs, and I say the primary warning sign is any behavioral changes, right? So is your child more irritable? Are they sleeping more? Are they starting to have more issues in their school? Let's say they're normally an A student and you're starting to see their grades decline. Are they starting to hang out with a different type of crowd, and that's not as a positive of an influence as the crowd they once were hanging around. Some other things I think we need to be aware of is that child's also disregard to any harm that it causes, right? So I know that if I do this, I'm going to get in trouble, but I'm going to do it anyways. I don't like getting in trouble, but the benefits of this substance outweighs the consequences of it, right? Starting to see them like just lose control in various areas of their life. So also losing friends, starting to isolate, and then let's see, also, downplaying it, right? So you're finding, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm sorry. So you're finding marijuana in their room and they'll blankly know you found it and then denying it, right? So denying it or downplaying like, oh, I'm not doing that or that's someone else. These are things that.
And I thank you for listing those, because those are just like regular behaviors sometimes we don't realize are problem behaviors and indicative of a bigger problem. And I kind of want to use this to kind of transition into talking about adult mental health with you, because the use of alcohol, for instance, and the legalization of marijuana is common for us to, use alcohol recreationally or just to become a part of our nightcap routine. For the adult person, whether it be a parent or just a single adult, how can they start noticing that maybe their recreational use of substance is beyond just recreation and possibly turning into an addiction?
So it's starting to have an impact on their daily life, right? So I'm drinking all night and so I can't go to work the next day. So that's indicative of, hey, there's a substance issue here, because this is becoming a reoccurring habit, even though, if you keep out, you're going to possibly lose your job, in control, and addiction starting to take over their daily life. So their daily life is now being impaired by the addiction. If a family member addresses it, once again, if there's some denial, or
You know what, Brittany, we are starting to lose you. So while your internet comes back, I'm going to hop back over to Ms. Casina um, and ask you, because I know you're working with a lot of youth, but you are also a parent. So what are some challenges as an adult that a parent might be dealing with in managing their own wellness and mental health, as well as like trying to deal with that of their youth? Like, what does that just look like from a general person perspective? If you want to share a personal story, you can.
Wow, way to put me on the spot. So self-care is, I'm gonna admit it, I do lack self-care. I'm working on it. But that is something that with me working on it, I'm actually working on it with the young people that I am actually connected to in the community, even in the school space, knowing to be able to disconnect from like social media and just being, just be in space with yourself, whether it be journaling, whether it be just sitting back, for me, when I do have a moment to myself, it's, I'm a TikTologist, I watch TikTok. And so talking with my young people who have transitioned from high school and they're in the workforce, just kind of encouraging them and also letting them know that, the stigma around, especially young people of color around counseling, letting them know that it's okay. These are some resources, like Dr. Jacob said, having somebody that looks like them is very important, because when I'm talking to my young people who have transitioned into adulthood, one of the things they always say is that, counseling, is whack, it's for white people. And I have to let them know that, no, we got to get that out of our mind. It's okay to talk. I see you're talking to me right now. I'm not a counselor, but I can give you enough to sustain you and put you in a place where you can go and speak to a Denisha Mingo or Brittany Collins or Dr. or Sharita. So just making sure that you're readily available to have that conversation with a young person. And when you see them in a position where you see that there's something that is wrong, if you are, as a parent or a mentor, if you're not in a position to, if that's not your expert subject matter, feel free to give them to someone else, because like I said, the self-care and, I can tell you all of those things. I can give you affirmation, all of those things, but all I'm doing is I'm not even the Band-Aid. I'm just a spray, so I want them to be able to go out and find somebody that can actually help them.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that and for being honest. And I want to come back to Brittany really quick. Your internet kind of messed up if you didn't hear me, so we went on to the other, but I appreciate all of the information you were given in regard to, those warning signs that a substance recreational use could be turning into something worse. But I'm going to ask you a question specifically for parents. Like, we hear a lot about self-care right now, but we have like life happening. What advice do you have for parents who need to manage, who are trying rather to manage their own mental health and wellness while dealing with a child who's having mental health or behavioral health challenges?
Okay. So one, I would say always acknowledge your feelings, right? Don't ignore them. Our feelings tell us a lot about what's going on with us spiritually, emotionally, physically. And so we need to acknowledge our feelings. Don't be afraid to ask for help, right? That could be a family member, a friend, someone in church. Ask for help, connect with someone. And if it's so bad, seek a counselor yourself. I don't think there's anything wrong with seeking counsel for anyone, even if it's not a mental health disorder. It's basically a guide. It's someone guiding you and helping you through your feelings, and helping to teach you appropriate ways to deal with those feelings, or helping to help you navigate life. So seek a counselor. There's also various support groups out there. such as, depending on what the issue is, right? There's NAMI for mental health, there's Al-Anon for family members who have substance, or actually Al-Anon is primarily for alcohol. If you're struggling with the substance use issue, there's Alcoholic Anonymous, there's Drug Anonymous, there's other groups out in the community that you can join as well. Also pick up some books, right? So sometimes it's nice to read what other people have been through and learn from it, right? So you don't have to go through the same cycle that someone else has already learned through. So, but the main point is acknowledge your feelings and stay aware of what those feelings are.
Thank you for that. And Christina, you kind of alluded to it by saying, I know my role, right? And then Brittany, you're talking about the various options that are out there. So Sharita, talk to us about the importance of a support system and how a person can establish that a support system for their life and their family.
Thank you so much, Denisha, for this particular question and topic. I love it. So I always say, make sure that your support system is imperative to your mental and emotional wellness. And my quote is, make sure that you're in a support circle that actually supports you, right? And so we can always have an entourage of people around us, but make sure it's comprised of people who actually want you to do your best, can push you to do your best, without you taking their offense, but be there therapeutically, can handle your humanity. So make sure those people can actually support you. It's very imperative. And for our children and for our parents, I say make sure that it's somebody you can trust. Make sure that if you don't have anyone in your family where you feel very comfortable going and talking to some of the issues and concerns you're dealing with, make sure you go and vet out a therapist, go on some of their profiles, read the background, see, because that's a therapeutic space in itself. It's a tremendous therapeutic space. That can be your therapist can be a part of your support circle. Mentors may be people who are a part of your support circle. People in the faith-based community, pastors, ministers, people like that may be a part of your self-support circle. Your friends, family, things. So those are just to name a few. There's so many people that can be a part of your support circle, but the main focal point is to make sure that there are people in your circle who actually support you. You don't want to just have a whole bunch of busyness around you, but you want to make sure that your goals, right, people can understand you and support you through those goals and some of your challenges in life.
I thank you for saying that, because I think it's important, like you said, to actually support you in the way that you need it. And that looks different. You want to have various levels of it. It's okay to have the friend who you can just laugh with and just call to get a distraction, but you need to have that one you can confide in, as well as therapeutic support, resources, counselors, social workers, like whatever that looks like, but make sure it's servicing you, that supports you. Like you said, I mean, I love that you put it that way. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Now, as important as it is to have a support system around, especially if you're going through any type of challenge, it's also important that we know how to cope and manage our wellness so that we can thrive. So Dr. Jacobs, what are some ways, because I mean, obviously you're working with the Raiders, so we know how important I don't want to expound. Let me just ask you, what are some ways for an adult, and you can include for children as well, if you like, that they can learn how to, cope with coping interventions and basic like things?
Sure. So thank you for that. I would say, so first off, and I mentioned this yesterday on the discussion we had yesterday regarding coping tools and what those are mentally. So I like the metaphor. The coping tools are essentially our mental wellness vitamins, right? And so I think that if we incorporate them into our lives every single day, I think that would help us to be more healthy mentally, right? Versus waiting to waiting for a crisis to happen or waiting for a emotionally distressed situation to occur, right? So I think it's just being proactive and utilizing them every single day. But the other piece of that is, and so this is important. A lot of people don't realize this, and I like to, I try to equip them with this information as much as possible and education, and that is, when it comes to like depression, anxiety, stress, those are probably 3 common struggles that most folks face, right? And so it's important that you embrace those things. So if you're stressed out or if you're, having a lot of anxiety or experiencing some depression because, you're grieving the loss of a loved one, whatever the case may be, it's important that you, set them down beside you. Set down depression beside you, set down anxiety beside you, set down that stress beside you, and befriend them. Get to know them. And what I mean by that is, when we're stressed out, we tend to act a certain way. We tend to exhibit various behavioral changes, right? That not only impacts us, but it can impact those around us, right? So, for instance, sometimes when I'm stressed out because I have too many things going on, on my plate. Sometimes, I'm stressed out, I get overwhelmed, and I notice that when I'm stressed out, I tend to be more reactive to things. So I tend to get more frustrated easily, like with my kids or my wife even. Sometimes the way I talk to them, it may not be in the most, consoling and fatherly way. And so one of the things I've learned over time is that this is, I have to be in tune with, myself when I am under a lot of stress. And I have to sometimes, take a second and say, you know what, I'm gonna slow things down. I'm gonna take a quick break, and I'm gonna readdress that situation or that matter, when I'm in a better place, right? So I think it's a matter of embracing these things, embracing these challenges that we have, because we're going to experience them. We're not immune to any of them, right? And so I think it's important that we get to know how we react to when we're depressed or when we're stressed out. I think that's the important piece, because once we're able to do that and have that awareness, we can be in a better place to make some of those changes and some of the adjustments in terms of how we, deal with others, or how we even just, manage things ourselves.
Thank you for that. And thank you for the transparency, because it's those small things that lets us know, hey, our equilibrium is off and we might need to get a little bit grounded and do some things to cope. And really quick, how impactful or important is nutrition on mental wellness?
Ooh, nutrition is
physical
huge.
Fitness.
All of it is huge, but obviously nutrition is big. And I think obviously, culturally, right, some of our foods culturally aren't maybe the healthiest,
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I've noticed as I've gotten older, I've had to cut back on some things. I've had to cut back on some of the macaroni and cheese and the ribs and, some things, some of the black eyed peas. And I had to cut back a little bit because I was getting older and, and my test results were indicating that, I need to balance things out a little bit more. So nutrition is huge. I think nutrition is like the core of a lot of different things, but especially our mental wellness. And then also, exercise is a big one as well. Exercise is a huge one. A lot of you guys notice who know me, I'm an avid runner. I run about 5 to 6 miles a day. And that's kind of where that's kind of like that's my self-care. Because after that run, I'm in a completely different space mentally. I feel this adrenaline rush. I feel like I'm just on this high, this natural high. Mm-hmm. And so, but exercise might not be, obviously, exercise can kill a couple birds, right? It can, obviously, it's good fit, for our physical fitness, but it's also good for our mental fitness as well, right? But I encourage everyone to apply, different coping tools that you are passionate about, things that you enjoy. Because I'll tell you this, my wife, she hates the gym. She hates exercising. She has this allergy to exercise. And so it's kind of getting creative, doing more yoga and meditation. That's kind of her thing, right? And I'm aware of that. So when I'm trying to get her out, to exercise with me, I don't push, because I know there's other things, other avenues that she can engage in, right? And so I think it's kind of meeting people where they are.
Absolutely. And finding what works for you. And therapists can absolutely help you do that. I know that restorative health and life is big in nutrition and fitness, and incorporating that into their therapeutic model. So Brittany, just really quick, because I'm looking at the time, and for all of the participants out there, we want you guys to start putting in your questions to the panelists so that we can get them answered. But what do you do to keep your balance as a business owner, a mother, multiple business owner, a supervisor, with all the things you do? What do you do to manage your mental health and wellness?
So I've always been big on fitness and nutrition, and I'm starting to get back into that, right? So I got away from it because of pregnancies and being a mommy and being so busy, and I'm starting to get back into it. So I'm changing the way that I'm eating. I'm making sure that I'm getting up every morning and at least doing 30 minutes of some type of physical activity. It doesn't have to be the same thing, but making sure I'm getting that supplements in. And then also taking time to myself, I'll go get a massage. Just have some me time is very important for us mothers. It's important for daddies too. So I want to be sure that I put that out there. We all need some time to ourselves because it helps us to rejuvenate and it helps us to be able to give into the things that we're passionate about.
And how are you currently, and I'm glad that Dr. Shelby said that, like, you know, that we know it's important that we talk about it because a lot of these things are cultural, right? We don't even realize that our nutrition, our fitness, or whatever, you know, it's impacting our mental health. But that's not like the only issue, right? It's a big part of it. And when you get those things in order, then we can like really you can kind of control for, is there something more serious going on, or do I just need to be sleeping better or exercising?
Mm-hmm.
So for you particularly, how have you incorporated nutrition and fitness into your therapeutic model?
So so I actually have a therapist that has her own meal prepping. And so meal prepping for me is very difficult because my children are also in sports. So I have 5 children, and right now 2 of them are in sports. So I've started to purchase from her meal prepping to make sure that I'm choosing those healthier foods. I am just waking up a little bit earlier to make sure I get in that 30 minutes. I don't sleep as well as I should, but I do also believe that sleeping is important. I have a mentor, so I have a designated person that I can contact at pretty much any given moment, and she's available to me. I don't abuse it because I do respect her and her time, but I do have her available to me, and I can talk to her about anything: business, being a mom, being a wife, or just like, hey, I just wanted to check in. And it's just nice to have someone that wants nothing from you, right? And is willing to pour into you. So that's awesome.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Miss Casina, what are some resources for youth and families dealing with CCSD, especially as the summer and the new school year rolls in? What are some resources and maybe events or that they can look forward to for support?
Yes, so there are programs like the Harbor, like Ty's Place, where parents can bring their young people, where we house mentoring organizations like Save Our Sons, Mastering Mindset, Join by Choice, and Tulips. There are a lot of programs that are right now encompassing this whole, new person and hybrid model of learning where you can pop in and pop out. I know if you go onto the school district's website and you click on the link where it says parents, they have a lot of resources there. You want to look at the city of Las Vegas, batteries included. There's a lot of programs that are out there. You just have to find what fits you.
Okay. And let me ask you, are those organizations currently like supporting the school model?
Yes, it just depends on each individual program. You would just have to like log on to their website or contact them via email to find out what they're actually offering.
And then people can reach out to you if they want to know about all those resources, right? Because you are the hub for the resources. If they don't know their websites, right?
Yes, you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome to reach out to me and ask questions about what programs are out there in our community. All things young people. So I will shake a tree and see what falls out for my young people in our community. So feel free to reach out to me.
You are definitely it. Thank you. You're always working. We have a question from Facebook Live, and actually this is what I was kind of hoping that we mentioned earlier. So Sharita, someone asked, can adjustment disorder last for years?
Yes, that's a good question. So thank you for that question to the participant who submitted that question. Adjustment disorder typically doesn't last for years. What happens with it is we generally diagnose for adjustment disorder when a person is coming in and we haven't quite had a chance to therapeutically identify, a full solid treatment plan and or explore deeper issues. And so initially when we start, if there's just some things that look like adjustment, we will give that diagnosis. And then as the treatment plan progresses, then that person may go to a different diagnosis, such as, depressive disorders and or, some type of anxiety disorders. But generally, adjustment is something we establish right away within maybe 2 to 3 sessions of a person having a life aging stage or life stage change, right? And so what happens with those is generally they treat it with the modality called solution focus or short-term solution focus therapy. And that particular treatment modality you see a lot in clinics, mental health clinics that do a lot of quick care. It's kind of like the equivalent of a quick care type of clinic situation where you go in and also EAP, that acronym stands for Employee Assistance Program. So you will see the adjustment disorders with a lot of treatment when people come in with just the EAP, which is like 3 or 4 sessions because maybe they just lost their job. So it's a quick adjustment, right? Like they're distressed because they lost their job. And then within, maybe 90 days, maybe even 6 months or so, they're working with their therapist to kind of stabilize out emotionally and come up with some solutions and identify some of their stressors and then come up with solutions to relieve those stressors, which could even include, helping to find another job and things like that. So typically it's kind of short term, but people can have different adjustment, disorder diagnoses throughout a lifetime, but typically they don't last, for years or a lifetime with the adjustment disorders.
Right. Thank you for that. I think it's so important because we've been in transition. And so I want to answer this question. I'm looking at the time and I want to be respectful of yours. But for now, the questions are coming in. We have Jada Willis who said, thank you for being a bit vulnerable and sharing your stories. I've incorporated more personal reset moments this year, but my consistency with it is on the struggle bus. How can I become more consistent in this crazy life as a mom and entrepreneur? And I don't know who wants to answer that. Dr. Sheldon? Well, you're not a mom, so I guess that's not right. Anyone can take it. And if you all want to just chime in, you can give a quick, 20-second stab at it.
So I'm going to take it again. I am transitioning into this, so I'm working to, I started working with a life coach to kind of help me kind of like put things together, to trying to develop some type of plan for my life because I am all over the place sometimes. And one of the things I can honestly say is it's okay just to step back and say, I got to get myself together. And that's like, you got to have that honest conversation, say, okay, stop, you're doing too much. Or if you have somebody that loves you and supports you, they will notice that you're doing too much and they will say, hey, sis, I love you, but you're doing too much and you might want to just take some time for yourself. So you got to have that honest conversation with yourself. And then you got to also be willing to receive that from someone who loves you.
So I hear you saying one of the ways to get more consistent, the things you want to get consistent is to take some things off your plate and realize when you're doing too much and you're overwhelmed. Brittany, I'm sure you can speak to this.
Yes. So first and foremost, I would say solicit help from your family members, right? A lot of the times, us women who are out there trying to do the most, we have this big S on our chest, right? And it's cape around our neck. We need to take it off and say we're not Superwoman, and we can solicit help from those around us, our support system. The other thing is, I always say, stop trying to create balance and actually try to create harmony in your life. Harmony creates fluidity. And so we need to understand that, hey, this week, it might be more mommy roles and work might not, be up here. It might be more down here, and be okay with that, right? Because our lives need to harmonize. Everything needs to work together. And so we need to start trying to create more harmony by understanding that some days we're going to give more attention to one role, and another day we have to give attention to something completely different. And then have grace. I always say have grace on yourself, right? It's so easy to be hard and tell yourself you're a failure or what you're not doing perfect. We're not perfect. We weren't created to be perfect. And so we need to be okay with understanding that we have strengths, but understanding that we have areas that we have to improve on. And that's going to be for the rest of our lives.
That is beautiful. Sharita, I didn't give you enough, I did not give you enough shine on the fact that you are actually a mother too, and you've been an entrepreneur for many years. Would you like to speak some words about consistency in life and transition as we close out?
My quick 20-second suggestion is put it on your calendar. That's it. Just like you would put the meeting on your calendar or your work staff meeting that you have to go to, that's mandatory. It's imperative that you get your self-care in. It's essential to your mental and emotional wellness. Put it on your calendar.
And I like that because I wanted some tangible things as well, and that's so important. And Dr. Jacobs, I know I kind of threw you out not being a mom, but you're definitely a father and an entrepreneur. And with you working with athletes, my mind just naturally goes to like goal setting and goal achievement. So whether you want to speak from that perspective or just your own personal, I would definitely love to hear you add on to that.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I'll say, the goals are big, right? And so for me, it's one of those things where we tend to focus on, the end result. We tend to focus on, whatever the accolades or whatever. And I'll be honest with you, life has been a challenge for me, and I'm sure many of you as well. And kid, growing up as a gangbanger and diagnosed with a learning disability and having a stuttering problem and having all of these sort of obstacles that I had to overcome, right? And so for me, what was really essential was goal setting. Was setting goals, because oftentimes teachers would tell me I'd be lucky to even graduate from high school because of the learning challenges and the behavioral challenges that I presented with. And so, so it was one of those things where, I had to, I think that drive sort of kicked in when people were telling me I couldn't do something, right? And so, but along that same path, I think goal setting was a big one, whether it be short-term goals, long-term goals, and just putting the wheels in motion, having that blueprint for success, having that blueprint for your life, whatever that might be, and taking it from there.
Thank you. You guys are amazing. Like, okay. What I want to say is, because we had our questions come in, and now I'm starting to feel the energy shift, kind of like how I like it too. But we are over time. So what I do want to is excuse anyone who has to go, unless we can make this last question the last one. Can we do that?
Go for it. I'm okay with it.
Okay. What is the best way to balance a child who's having a hard time dealing with the isolation as a single parent who deals with depression and anxiety when we live in a city with no support or social interaction? What is the best way to balance, I guess, having a child who's having a hard time dealing with the isolation? So this person is a single parent and they're dealing with depression, and they're saying, I kind of asked this earlier, how can a person with depression who has a child who's also struggling with depression balance that when they're living in a city where there's no social support and isolation is just what it is?
First, they need to take care of their mental. Oh, I'm so sorry, Dr. Sheldon.
Oh, no, go ahead. Please do. Go ahead.
I would say first and foremost, the single parent needs to take care of their mental health, right? So they need to make sure they're seeking counseling. If there's any psychotropic medication that they need, they also need to make sure they're seeking their psychiatrist as well. And then doing whatever, daily coping skills that they have, making sure that they're incorporating it, sleeping well. And then they'll be better equipped to deal with that child, right? So now they can start to wrap support around that child as well. So incorporating that child in their therapy or having that child go into their own therapy, finding mentoring programs within the community. Also, making sure they're having daily check-ins. So speaking with their child about how they're feeling and the transition that has happened in their life. Making sure that child is getting involved in things in school or programs within the community, just to start to wrap that child with support.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I'll say, yeah, sure. And I'll add, and I think it's an important point that you can't pour into others if your cup is empty, right? So we have to first care for ourselves, in any way, shape, or form, and then before we can really, really effectively care for others. So I think it starts there. But one of the things I would say too, and I think, obviously as clinicians, some of us are clinicians on this panel, and obviously, we want folks to seek counseling, right? But I think the unfortunate reality is that many folks aren't there. Counseling is very intimate, it's very personal. It's very, it can be very scary, right? And so I think that, for a lot of folks, they're probably not there to have different feelings regarding counseling. And that's okay, right? I mean, I think one of the biggest things is, obviously there's support groups anywhere. You can go, dial 211, go to the 211 website online, you can text 211, and there'll be a myriad of resources that you have access to, in the Valley. Where the support groups for youth, there's actually, that's one of the newer trends is, there's more support groups that are being put on for youth. Some of our local psychiatric hospitals even like, just name a few, like Desert Parkway, as well as Southern Hills Hospital. They've been doing a lot of, work regarding the teen or adolescent mental health space, where they're providing support groups, because that a lot of times, a lot of youth have a hard time opening up, right? And so researchers found that, a lot of times for many people, they feel more comfortable when they're in a group setting amongst other people that are dealing with the same issue. So I think there's definitely ways. I think the beauty is that, we have, we're very, we live in a world that's very technological advanced, right? If this pandemic happened like 20, 25 years ago, we would have been in a lot of trouble because technology was nowhere where it is. And so there's plenty of ways to get connected. If it's through, if it's online, if it's, there's so many groups and support systems, even just on the internet, right? You just Google whatever nowadays, and you'll get a search. And so I think there's resources out there if you seek the resources. You have to seek the resources, right? So there's a lot of help. And then the last thing I want to say is just treating things as you would prior to the pandemic, right? So obviously things are opening up more, but getting kids involved is important. And there's a lot of free resources out there. You just have to look for them. Sports is a great resource because sports teaches so many different things, so many life things for youth. I'll also say even playing music, picking up an instrument. There's so many different ways for youth to get connected. So don't use that as an excuse. Seek the resources. Again, 211 is an excellent resource. There's a lot of support groups around town for youth. So just reach out.
And I'm glad that you said that, Dr. Jacobs, because when I saw that, I'm like, no, there is support, but that goes back to the problem. People don't know where it is. They don't know how to find it. And I hear you saying, hey, look for it. And this is one way. This is getting good. I really appreciate the moments of transparency, because I think that when we sit up here as professionals and licensed clinicians or experts, whatever it is, sometimes you can be viewed as not having these issues there and not dealing with it, right? Like that consistency thing, like it's something that we struggle with. So I just appreciate you guys being transparent, sharing your stories, availing yourself along with your expertise and knowledge on this support, but also providing the resources. We never want to leave people without resources. And I think that it's so important as we are just transitioning, like even with, that's how adjustment disorder goes into something worse, right? Because they've not coped with this transition. And I'm always telling people, like, your biggest protective factors, right, are going to be a support system, which we've talked about, coping skills. You can learn to cope on your own, find what works for you, or you can go and seek out a professional for support to do it. And then your perception of a situation, which is like going to be major, right? How am I looking at this? And being willing to be flexible and adjust. And when you feel like there is no hope, right? I want to be around people, and this is changing now. But during when it first happened, people want to be around people, but absolutely couldn't. So how can I tap in technologically, although it wasn't my preferred way? Because your perception is also always going to make a big deal in it. So Sharita, I want to ask you really quick, and this will be the last question. How can a person cope with transition? Like, what do you tell people when they're trying to cope with the transition? What are some quick skills?
Well, just embrace what speaks to you, what resonates with you. So like when I send out a self-care list, everything on that list may not resonate with everyone. So I just encourage people, when you are looking to connect and you're reaching out and looking for information, go towards those things that resonate with you, because generally, right, we stick to things that we enjoy and we like, right, that relates to us. So relatability is important when you're looking for help, support, and therapeutic intervention and support. So look at those things that relate to you and that resonate with you.
Thank you. And how can people get in contact with you?
You can find me on Psychology Today. You can also find me on my website, sharitachildress.com. You can also find me on Instagram under Vegas Therapist, and Facebook under Vegas Therapy Sharita. So.
Do you have anything coming up that you want people to know about so they don't feel like there's no support or social interaction?
No, I did my platform for men's mental health yesterday. Thank you for everyone who participated and viewed and watched. And other than that, I'm just kind of sitting back enjoying, the other platforms, and that's about it. I don't have anything else coming up.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm getting to you, Dr. Jacobs. Oh, were you going to add to her?
Well, I was going to say that, so we do have an event coming up. Sorry, I mean, this is a big one because it's an in-person event. So we're bringing this event to the community May 18th at 6:30 p.m. at the Pearson Center, mental health town hall event. Myself, I'll be on the panel. We have one of our newest Las Vegas Raiders who will also be on the panel, as well as a couple of other advocates from the community. You do not want to miss it. Commissioner McCurdy is also going to be delivering some opening remarks, but you do not want to miss this event. Thank you.
And how can people contact you? I was going to make sure I did the rounds.
Well, I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
You go to my website, drsheldonjacobs.com. I'm also on social media at drjacobs33.
And how can people get your book?
Oh, the book. Thank you, Danisha.
Listen,
brother up, huh?
See?
The book, it's my book titled 48, Experiential Memoir of Homeless, or just 48. You can put 48. You can get it from Amazon, Barnes & Nobles. It's in store at all the Barnes & Nobles here in the Valley. It's also at the Writer's Block, the one of the only remaining independent bookstores in Las Vegas, which is located in downtown Las Vegas. So the Writer's Block, try to support them, but it's also available there.
All right. And I actually did order 3 copies of your book. And I meant to post about it because I'm that kind of supporter. So I do have it. I'm looking forward to digging into it this summer. Thank you so much for joining us. Casina Boone, what are you looking forward to that's coming up this summer? What are you looking forward to?
I am just looking forward to, connecting with young people here at Ty's Place, doing, the cool thing right now is CCSD is going to be offering summer school. And so a lot of our students are going to be able to participate in summer school and still be connected to resources from the Safe School Professional social workers. So that makes me feel good. But here at Ty's Place, we're going to be offering the programming that we do through Gentlemen by Choice, Tulip, Save Our Son, and Master Mindset. So if you have young people and they're looking, we have programming every day here from 2 to 6, depending on the day. Please just go to tysplace.org and sign up for your young person, or you can go to mytulips.org. And that's what we got going.
Thank you so much for all of your hard work and the service. You are a phenomenal woman. And on June 4th and June 5th, Friday night, June 4th, MHS will actually be bringing in a licensed therapist who's also a yoga instructor to do yoga for teens. So it'll be free. So you can go visit our website or call our office at 702-848-1696 or contact Ty's Place to get that information. And then that Saturday morning on June 5th, we'll be doing it for adults and parents. Family is so important. And I know I don't want any person who doesn't have children to feel like we were not inclusive of them, but well, there's no but, right? You have family, whether you have children or not. And family, as we have heard today, is so important. I don't believe in treating the part without the whole. And I'm sure everyone else here concurs with that. And so that's why we talk about these things from this way, because we are relational people as humans, but especially as minorities. And so we have to make sure that we are looking at not just the children, but also the adults and creating space for them. And then how can we, integrate that so that everyone's healthy and whole together. So we don't want to leave anybody out. And you can contact all of the clinicians who you've heard today to get a referral, and MHS as well, for whether that's your insurance or a specialization or a certain type or location. Like, we are going to help you find someone because we care, whether that's for your mom, your aunt, your grandma, your brother, your sister, your child, or your friend, or yourself. Okay, so know that you're not alone. And Miss Brittany Collins Jefferson, what are you looking forward to coming up? What's coming up?
Recently Restorative just opened a fitness meets mental health program. So we are greatly looking forward to that program. And the best way to contact us is to go on our website at myrestorativehealth.com, or you can contact our office at 702-856-6727.
I love it. I thank y'all for your time, for your expertise, for lending yourselves. You all are admirable people. I love you. I appreciate you. Make sure you guys come out to that town hall on May 18th with NAMI. They've been doing great things. And when you come out to various community events, that's where you find the resources and the social supports and other things that are coming up next. And I also want to tell you guys, save the date for July 17th. We will be partnering with Nevada Partners, Culinary Academy, as well as NAMI, Solutions of Change, to do Healing to Health, bringing the dialogue of mental health to the faith-based community. It's going to be a full day conference. We will have food. We will have CEUs for licensed professionals and for the general population as well. You can come, and we're going to have tracks talking about mental health, tracks specifically on coping with licensed music therapy, creative arts therapy, yoga, and mindfulness. And then we'll have some tracks specifically on faith-based communities and various topics so that we can make sure we're reaching that, something we are passionate about. Solutionsofchange.org. You can go subscribe to the YouTube channel and join us for Fancy Friday, as well as know that there's a resource out there for anyone who does not have insurance, who's underinsured, and that includes undocumented people. We're servicing youth and families with resources and therapeutic treatment approach. And no matter what you're doing, no matter what you're going through, just know that, you got this. Stay hopeful, because hope is a practice. And so my word is going to be hope. And I want everyone else to just say a quick word of the year, positive. And then we'll go casino. Word of the year.
Positive, right?
Yes. Like, it's just what's going to be a word of the year? Like, just to give some inspiration, gives people something to think about.
Oh, okay. I thought you said we're supposed to say your word. I was so off.
No, just a word of the year. Word of the year.
Joy.
Joy. Brittany.
Strive.
Strive. Dr. Jacobs.
Positivity.
Positivity. Sharita.
Enough. You're enough.
God bless y'all. Y'all make sure y'all join her Motivational Mondays as well. Thank y'all again. Have a wonderful Saturday. Be blessed.
On behalf of the 100 Black Men of Las Vegas, thank you for joining us for our mental health workshop. Dashina, thank you so much. And to all our panelists, thank you very much. The 100 Black Men has resources for mentoring youth. Please visit our website at www.100blackmenlasvegas.org. Press the programs tab at the top of the page and you'll see all the programs we have for our youth. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Have a fantastic weekend.
Thank you, Rhonda. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.